They work now. Cool. I'm the old person on here. So like I was saying, this is a podcast called Chicago 45 or YouTube channel, whatever you want to call it, or a show or whatever. Chicago 45 is where we talk about things that are currently happening that's going on in the world today, whether it be race relationships, police, school, COVID-19, whatever's going on in the world today that everybody in all states we will speak about. So this is our third one, Jada and Jody. Our third one.
Yeah.
Right? Or we count the one from back home too?
No.
That was the I don't think I can't think of the word.
It's not the same thing.
It's not the same thing? Okay, cool. It spoke about things. I don't know. But we wanted to have a space where not all like-minded individuals can get to come in a space and speak, but that's kind of lame. You want different people from different backgrounds to speak about things that's going on. Without further ado, we'll hop into some topics. All right, let me open up my Palm Pilot. You know what I mean? I took some notes. You know what I'm saying? Where my notes go? Boom, boom, boom. How's everybody doing today, though? Good. All right, cool. All right, so my first question is this. We watch a lot of Karen videos. I spend a lot of my time watching Karen videos right now. And then I also dealt with navigating racism and whatever weirdness at work. I'm learning how to deal with those things as we go. So my question is, workspace racism and family racism, and also it's because family is a big thing too. How do we navigate that? As Black people, we have people in our family that's like, I don't fucking have that shit, or we got like white people who don't really fuck with it. So how do we deal with that as far as a family thing and as far as a work thing? Is that there's this cloud as far as work, you don't talk about race or politics or religion and things like that. And also at home too as well. So if anybody want to dive into how do you deal with that at work or at home, go ahead, Caleb, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I would say dealing with that primarily just extremely passive aggressive. So there's a tension there that everyone knows is there, but it's almost like you kind of just slip around it or do whatever. Because one, you can't really acknowledge it at work without notifying a supervisor, and then it's going to be a whole thing. So I don't really pay too much mind. You just treat them like a dumbass. Like if they're going to disrespect you at work, I can disrespect you and still get my job done without the boss needing to find out about it. But at home, it could be a little different. Are you talking about like racism towards other people at home, or like someone that's like an Uncle Ruckus in your own family?
I mean, the whole thing. How do you deal with an Uncle Ruckus? How do you deal with one of your family members being a look to, pro-Black, if that's a real thing? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I don't be holding back. Like I just, if I don't agree with something with my folks, I'd be pretty vocal about it. It's kind of gotten to a point where that can be established. Growing up, it was more so like, pay attention to your elders, respect them, whatever. You get older and you're like, nah, let me tell you the truth. And if you don't want to hear the truth, that's too bad. But I'm gonna say what I need to say on this. Wow.
Okay, so Sam, I'm gonna put you on the spot. So me and Sam talked off air about like this question, and she was like, I want to like, ask that question. I want to like see how other people think, and I never got the chance to ask you, how do you deal with that in your family?
Well, you saw like the messages on how I tried to deal with it, kind of being like addressing the issue and trying to explain like, hey, I know you think this way, but that's not okay. That is wrong, and try and like provide all of the information to show them like why it's wrong. But I get like when it gets to the point of ignorance, then like what do you do? Because that's what I'm struggling with.
Richie, so she's struggling with that part. Go ahead.
Well, what I do is, so like the first thing you got to do is once you understand where someone is coming from, right? So, me and my girls talk all the time, and we talk about what they see, what happened, what goes on, and we try to break down that dynamic, and we try to figure out how did other people get to that point or that line of thinking, right? So once you understand why someone thinks the way they do, then you can appropriately address it. You know what I'm saying? And then share, examples and how you feel without them being defensive or getting upset or being, angered because they feel like you are attacking them. As long as they feel like you are attacking them, they're gonna, start becoming belligerent and going off the hinges without thinking. You know what I'm saying? So, in my experience, when you talk to people, you have to come down to their level, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like everyone is not gonna think the way you think or be advanced as you are in your thinking, right? So you have to. It's just like a child. You know what I mean? When you're trying to teach a child something, you can't use big words with them and stuff like that. You have to come down to their level so that the child can understand where you're coming from and what you're talking about. You know what I mean? And so that's the dynamic that you have to enter to help people understand where you're coming from.
Okay, so Jody, you don't work. So that workspace is not a thing because you're still in high school. That's not a real thing for you. How do you navigate that? Because you just had like a real thing at your school not too long ago. How do you navigate that? And all Catholic white institution, Fenwick itself, the Great Fenwick.
So last week I had me and the other group of Black students. We had a conversation with our principal and about like everything that's been going on and like basically a plan for like what's next. And so I told him that because basically I didn't want the conversation to just be them asking us how we want it solved, because like mainly we're not the ones in charge. So I don't want to tell you how to like run your job, especially how to teach people how to not like to watch what they say, because first of all, you can't control anybody from like what's coming out their mouth. And so I told him that basically there needs to be some type of training or like discussion within the staff and administration saying like, okay, instead of just sweeping the conversation under the rug, like address it and then let the students know and let the teachers who don't know, like, okay, well, this is how you go about solving a problem without disrespecting anybody.
Okay. So I'm gonna dive to Jada on this one right here. So, like we talked about, is COVID-19 like? Is that like a bright light to systemic racism? Or like I don't know, maybe I didn't word it right. Is that like a flashlight to just show people how real it is? Because the stats say COVID-19 is hurting more people of color more than anything. People elderly of color, they're dying the fastest. Is that like could that be like, oh, there's a shining light right there. There's another way it's been shown. Or am I swinging for the fences?
I feel like it could be a stretch, but at the same time, I feel like it could be true, because it's like, like when we were quarantined, you really couldn't go anywhere but the grocery stores kind of thing. Like, I feel like a lot of people of color don't have the money, especially in our neighborhoods, don't have the money to like stack up on food to just stay in the house, or like not go to work or not try to find jobs or file for unemployment, like stuff like that. So, I mean, I feel like, yeah, it is, but at the same time, I don't know.
It's a stretch.
Yeah.
Anthony?
I don't know.
I agree with her on part of what she was saying. So it hits multiple ways. So one, most people of color in this country work a job that was considered a necessity, so we still had to go to work. probably more than 50% of us. So that's part of it. The other part is the medical field is already admitting and saying, hey, we have a problem with racism in the medical field, period. Throughout the whole country, they've said it. So now the people that are dying from COVID right now, and they're being extremely affected, is because the hospitals don't have enough ventilators, right? So if a hospital only has 20 ventilators, they normally are at like a 10, let's say 10 people, 7 people on ventilators all the time, pretty much on average. If you get 15 cases of COVID, extreme cases, and it's elderly minorities or elderly white people, they're literally making a decision right now without any checks or balances of who's going to get the ventilator and who doesn't. So the ones that don't are the ones that are dying. The ones that get the ventilator, they're fine. They're just waiting it out. It's just a crappy couple of months more than likely. So that's where it's tricky. And my brother's dealing with this right now on his nonprofit that he does. He's part of a Black Nurse Association here in California. And that's one of the topics they're talking about is systemic racism within the medical field. And COVID kind of highlighted it for them too.
I feel like another thing is like an insurance type of thing. Like not a lot of like older Black people or minorities in general like have that type of health insurance that they know is gonna cover like the most of their expenses. So I feel like if they do have like symptoms that present them with like COVID or something, like I feel like they'll probably just push it off or try not to go into the hospital because of that simple reason.
For sure.
Yeah, and Jade is right on the insurance part too. So for example, I had to have heart surgery, and because I had heart surgery and I have good insurance, that's what the hospital said, good insurance, not Medi-Cal. I got to go to a whole different wing that was brand new, had Netflix on the TV, and I had a nurse one to every 2 rooms. But if I had Medi-Cal, I'd go to the other wing of the hospital, and it was 1 nurse to 5 patients and no TV and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, it does boil down to money a lot of times on top of that.
For sure. So my next question is this, right? So I watch a lot of the YouTube news. I don't watch full-on news. I watch YouTube news. I can't sit there too long and just like, I gotta watch this news channel. I was listening about reparations talk. What is that? What would be a good a good reparation gift, Richie? What would be like, oh, you guys got this. What would it be like that?
I don't think you can, man. To go into that state is like, I don't think there's ever gonna be anything that is like, oh, okay, well, we accept this based off of, everything that has happened, reparations, I think it's just something that they just throw out there to distract you, to calm you down so that, your issue is now focused on, oh, maybe we can get some money, you know what I mean? Or maybe we no longer is drawing our attention to what's going on, you know what I'm saying? Because you have to think about, like, in order for them to give reparations, like, really, it's going to break everything, right? But the whole goal, like, if they were to do it, is because they know that we would give it right back to them. We would instantly go out, go shopping, and put it right back into the economy. So in a sense, it wouldn't hurt them, but at the same time, they couldn't do it because the United States does not have resources. And because they don't have resources, their money is pretty much worthless. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why they are in so much debt right now, right? And so other countries have natural resources that backs their money. We don't have that. So all the money that they give us is pretty much worthless, So I'm not sure what type of reparations would quarrel anything, you know what I'm saying, short of tearing down the system and starting over.
Okay, let's get some mad thing, Caleb. What would be like something like if you're in the office, you're like, hey, pushing for reparations, and me as a Black voter say, hey, what you gonna do for me? Like what would be like a good starter kit? Whoever want to go?
Sorry, I don't think I actually fully
That's
understand the question.
I mean, so they speak about reparations, right? They speak about not giving every black family $1,000 or something like that. They're thinking about rewarding them for, you know, the past brutality that's been done to us for 400 and plus years. So how do we pay them back? We were promised 40 acres and a mule, but we never received that. So now it's like, okay, cool. Like every candidate, every Democratic candidate has been talking about the black agenda. They've been like very like politicized the black vote, politicized reparations. And as far as like what would be a good start, because we as black people, we want reparations, but if somebody came up to us and asked us, what do you want? That'd be a hard, difficult answer in a weird sense. I mean, speaking from my opinion, it'd be hard to be like, okay, you asked me what I want. I don't know. So I mean, if you guys were to wave a magic wand, what would be like a starter? Like, okay, cool, we're gonna give each family this, whether it be I'm gonna make sure Anthony and Richie kids get, you know, full scholarship for at least 2 years. Like what would that look like if we had our own way?
So I think I got an answer.
Hopefully I explained it.
Yeah.
I was vague early. I was vague.
So I feel like the equivalent of 40 acres and a mule today would definitely have to equate.
Bugatti.
Huh?
A Bugatti.
It would have to equate to generational wealth for at least one generation.
That's a vague answer. What is that? What the?
If I got 40 acres, that's my kid, and then for sure they kids. So what does that equate to? At least one generation of wealth.
Okay.
Does that not sound about right?
I think he's right. I think he's pretty right. So wait, before I get on his right real quick, I'm one of those people that I always thought growing up around all my black family that reparations was ridiculous. I don't want their money. Let me just do me.
Yeah.
Right? So and a lot of us were just proud people, so that's why we think, I don't want their money. But I recently went and researched how many times did the United States give reparations, who they gave it to, and how much money, and it'll be super shocking. Pretty much every type of person that we've displaced, harmed, has already got reparations. The Vietnamese, Native Americans, Germans, it's crazy. Like, it's a long list. So once I realized that African Americans were one of the very few that weren't, and they were the second people to be displaced in the United States, it was kind of eye-opening. But I agree with Caleb that 40 acres and a mule basically meant the next 4 or 5 generations of your family were okay. Because if I could farm 40 acres and I have a mule to farm it, even today, you're pretty rich. And the average age of a farmer in the United States right now is 73, because the farms are worth so much money that none of us our age could afford it. And that's even a 40-acre farm. We can't afford it.
So generational wealth is
Yeah.
okay. I'm gonna be like that weird politician. Okay, so I'm gonna give everybody their first job at Foot Locker. Because I think our biggest thing is wording. Even when I think me and Alyssa, my coworker, we was reading the Constitution. The Constitution, the wording is so it's so weird, and it's so open for anybody's interpretation. So generational wealth is a perfect thing, but how do we hone that down to where it's an actionable item?
So I think in order to find that, it is a broad answer by saying generational wealth and what that equates to. But if we go even farther in today's society, you could equate that to what is the average annual salary of somebody that could survive on their own. And if the answer ain't $30,000, which is the average amount that people are getting for working at what? Foot Locker, McDonald's, maybe a little less than that depending on the hours. So it's like, y'all gonna have to give me more than Foot Locker. Like, I need like 50,000 at least a year. And I know that they have that money sitting around to be given to people. They just saying, you know what? We're going to let y'all fight your way up a ladder to try to educate yourselves to try to get that money, to have a piece of paper to basically say that you can get this same amount of money that you were already capable of having. That's bullshit. Okay. I'm over here getting busting my ass to get a master's degree so someone could type it on paper that I deserve to get paid more. Nah, man. Like, nah.
I get you. I get you. Okay, Joe, from your how old are you again? You're 12, right?
16, going on 17.
Everybody do the Watusi for her. From your young mind, how does that sound for you in the next like if that was a thing for you?
Do you mean like the generational wealth?
Yeah.
I mean, like that's great because then it's no longer a like, well, for me, as far as like a big thing, especially like for Black families, like, okay, first step, graduate high school, actually making it out of high school. Then another thing, actually going through college, and then finishing. Like finishing is like a big thing. Like especially in my family, like yeah, people been to college, but like it's only like one or two that like actually finish. And so for me to have like that financial support is just kind of like one of like the stress relievers like off my back. So
for sure. Hey, so I don't know how many people have like unfriended friends off Facebook and Instagram. I think my question to that is how do we not get that to happen? How do we communicate effectively to them? And I don't know. How do we not have that be the issue? I know Sam has ranted on people. I have ranted on people. Jada has ranted on people. Reggie, Anthony, everybody on the show has ranted on people. But we seem to always like, you know what? We either get rid of them or they get rid of us. Where's that disconnect at?
I feel like you shouldn't have to explain like human decency. Like, I just feel like that should just be something that you just like, even if you didn't grow up with that like mindset or the person you were raised by didn't have that mindset. I feel like now in this generation, it's like something you could like see, like, you know what I mean? Like treat a person like a person. Like, I don't think that's hard. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's no need to like explain that. So maybe that's why.
I think it's got to be like yeah, part of it depends on who you're talking to too, right? So if it's somebody that may have known you from the past to some extent, like I had an experience last night where I don't know, Ray, you see my post? I posted the gay pride flag.
Oh yeah.
Explained all of that because it was June still, and people need to be informed. So this guy that I grew up with, he commented on it speaking wild. So like I'll just read off like a little bit. He started off by saying something really like aggressive. He's like, "We're pretty sure God designed the first rainbow and the symbol was taken to mock Christianity with hate." And I was like, "Oh shit, here we go." So, he basically saying that gay people are the devil, and we just went on a whole thing about it. And in my heart, I was about to just do exactly what you're talking about, just block this man and be done with it. And I was like, you know what? Nah, let's see what he's got to say about this. When I approached it, all my responses, it basically came from a place of knowing that he's misunderstood. And I'm going to make sure that I can educate him so that he understands better. And it actually resulted in him appreciating me explaining things to him because he had never considered a different perspective than the one that he had. So, like, part of it was I basically kept it real. I was like, look, man, just because you have different ideals than me now that we're, like, older, it doesn't mean that at the end of the day, like, I'm not going to treat you like less than a person because you disagree with me. So, like, that was kind of the big thing. Was when people have disagreements, it's like, it's okay to agree to disagree.
For sure.
Like if we're all put on this earth to be the same and not have, we wouldn't have personalities. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm fine with it. I welcome it, you know.
For sure.
I love drama. So it was fine. But that was my experience the last 24 hours.
Okay. So okay, Samantha, as a because your mother is what again? What is she?
She's Nicaraguense,
And your dad is
white.
okay, cool. So as a I can't say that N word, the Nicaraguan, I can't get that out. I can't say it. Anybody can get that word out. I'll send you $5 cash out. Okay, and you got it. Oh, he ain't got it. Joe, you got it. Richard, you got it.
Nope.
So it's a Nick. How you say it again? Say it again for me.
Nicaraguense.
Okay, cool. Yeah, next week.
Nicaraguense.
Next week. So as a non-black woman, but you are a person of color, how do you defend this conversation against other people who may like, oh, you look white, you like us? Like, how do you defend that in your social group?
I think I've been very lucky with like my close-knit circle group. They're all really understanding, but like honestly, I got in an argument with my dad and he's like, you don't understand racism. And I'm like, what? Like you're the white one here. I'm like, I've gotten it from both spectrums. So I'm like, I can understand and empathize with it. But I also feel like there's more I can do like as an ally, if that makes sense.
Do you feel like you need to, or is it a want?
I think it's more like the want, because it's like if I can do more, why shouldn't I?
For sure.
Because I think like I look white, I sound white, and I feel like I should use that to help amplify other voices and help get the message across.
For sure. You know, I've been telling you since day one. I mean, as a black person, I appreciate anybody that want to, stand and help us with this, because it's important that everybody's in this conversation. It's just not about police. It's just about everything. Equal rights, voter suppression. Like that needs to be a thing that we need to start talking about tomorrow. Like we need to talk about those things where people don't have the adequate things to vote. So now that's another issue. On another hand, so I feel you. I get you the whole way. So okay. So to deviate a little bit, so back home in Chicago, it was wild, right? When the riots happened, it was wild. The following week, it was the everything shifted. It went to black. Oh, what's up, Diamond? It went to black.
Hi.
It went to black people versus the Mexicans.
Yeah.
To whoever can speak to it, how important is that relationship between the Latin community and the black community to stick? Whoever want to shout out to that part.
I think it's very important, because we are both the minorities, right? But even though when we find ourselves hanging out and doing these other things, it's generally with our Hispanic brothers. You know what I mean? And those are the ones that can speak to what we go through, because they can kind of understand it because they're going through it themselves. You know what I mean? And so like I was talking with oh my God, I forget the guy's name, but he was saying how once they're done with us, they're next. You know what I mean? And so it's like, so why don't we all get together and stick together? Because both of these communities are next door to each other. You know what I mean? So our communities, it's important that we rise up together, to bring awareness. But, they have so much going on with themselves that a lot of the time, they just like us, they fight amongst themselves a lot, right?
Okay, so my question is for people who don't get that, why do we fight amongst ourselves? And Oh, go ahead, Jada. Go ahead, Jada. That question is for you, Richie. Why do we fight amongst ourselves? We're gonna let Jada go.
Mhm.
I
Okay.
just feel like with the whole, like, you said Mexican specifically, correct? Or just Latino?
I said Latin. He said he said Hispanic. He said Hispanic.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I heard Mexicans, but whatever. I was just gonna say, like with a lot of Mexicans, like, yeah, we all go through the same stuff, like, realistically. But I feel like to them, it's not always like that mindset that they go through the same thing that African Americans go through. If that makes sense. Like, a lot of their, like, ancestors, like, older, like, people are more racist towards, like, Black people. And I don't, like, I wouldn't know why, but, like, just from, like, experience, like, it's just obvious that they're not on the same page. You know what I mean? Like, if honestly, what I've experienced, most people that's, like, on the same page as Black people, if they are Hispanic, is like Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, like, because they're, you know. So that's the only thing I can really say. And I feel like that's why some Mexicans don't feel like they should stand up or, like, need to stand up because of that, like, simple fact.
And I agree with Jada too. Like, I understand it's important for us to, like, support each other, but I also think, like, it's good for them to, like, know their role and not try to, like, confuse our struggle, not confuse it, but, like, try to mix it with theirs, just so they can say, like, oh, like, we've been through the same stuff, because yeah, it's similar, but, like, it's totally different. But, like,
How
you,
so?
huh?
How so? I'm gonna push back. How so?
Like, okay, let's take what's going on now. They're saying, like, oh, as far as, like, COVID, like, the Black people are the ones most likely, like, dying now and stuff like that, or, like, the ones dying most often. Yeah, they're not saying that really about Hispanics either, but then they'll try to argue and say, like, oh, but our people is dying as well. Or, like, with the whole police brutality thing, like, you're not seeing on the news or on social media a person from Hispanic origin, Latin origin, that's, like, being put on their necks and stuff like that. And so I don't know, I just don't see them as, like, yeah, they struggle, but I just don't see it as, like, being the same as our struggle.
Just to bounce back, like, play devil's advocate a little bit. Sorry, Jody, but I got you. I feel like the reason it's not known, if we being honest, like, a lot of Hispanics try to avoid the police, especially the older ones, because not all of them are documented in the United States. So that's a fear, like, for themselves already. Just how we, like, like, a lot of our males fear the police and try to avoid and stay out the way. I feel like it's the same way with especially Hispanics that's undocumented. So I feel like that's why it's not broadcasted or, like, known, because it's like, I mean, it's kind of rare when it's a encounter. And if it is, I mean, 9 out of 10, they from our generation. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, I mean, I understand what you're saying too, though.
I mean, I'll push back on the whole thing, right? I don't even think it's their struggle or our struggle, because both of our struggles are very intertwined. I mean, you look at how they place you in your confined neighborhoods. Like Richie said, we next door to them. They next door to us. So we've already been intertwined with everything. Most likely, everything they get, we don't get. Whether it's high blood pressure, because at every corner of your hood, you got a little corner store with some fudge brownies and everything. I moved out to Modesto. I haven't saw a corner store yet. So they're gonna reap the same sorrows and benefits we do. They deal with the police just as much as us. If anything, they can be like, oh, ours is a little different because we got to deal with ICE. We got to deal with somebody come in and snatch us and take us back to Mexico, you know, the cartel on my ass or whoever on my ass. So there's a little more tricky too, you know, as far as those things. And I mean, and then when they get here, I mean, you got to think about how people adopt the American culture. I'll take these parents. But no, I want to take our parents. I'll take just immigrants in general, like an Indian immigrant. When they come to America, they're trying their hardest to be Americanized or be. Go ahead, Sam. You had something.
We can actually use my mom's experience. So she came to America from Nicaragua when she was about, I think, younger than 12.
She still look good though. She still look good.
I'll let her know. And coming here, her teachers changed her name because her name was too hard to pronounce. Her name was Doris Maria. Not hard to pronounce. It's not a struggle. So then she's been going by Mary ever since.
And we got the same letters, the same amount of letters, right?
Yeah, it's very similar.
Okay.
It's not. There's nothing difficult about it, but it was to like Americanize herself. And I know like my brothers and I growing up, we don't know too much about our culture because she absorbed so much of the American culture because she wanted to be American, that it takes away from our culture. Like we don't know much. She's fluent in Spanish, speaks, reads, and writes it. We don't know any because she wanted to be American. She wanted to become like what she was coming here for. So it definitely like it changes the culture that like they bring as well, if that makes sense.
For sure. I mean, Joe, you ever heard of the term whitewash?
Yes.
Some people, and it's white is American. Not white is not anything. White is American, like the white people who were born in America. That's the whitewash. When the Mexicans are like, I mean, we know a Mexican who choose to put Caucasian on her job application before her actual Mexican roots. Like that's whitewash. It's all right. So, Richie, back to you. Why is there so much infighting?
For us or for them or just in general?
I would say us.
Well, for us, it's more we don't have leadership. You know what I mean? Anytime you have powerful Black people that come up and that can bring people together, they're taken away. You know what I'm saying? Somehow, and then you don't have that backup person that steps up and says, "Hey, listen here. This is not what this is supposed to be about. This is not how we is. This is what we need to be." You know what I mean? And so, like when you try to talk to the young brothers, they're so used to not having that male role model or that influential person that they can look up to and be like, "Hey, bro, shut up, homie, talk and let's listen." You know what I mean? So now they are so stuck that they think that the streets has taught them everything that they need to know, right? And then you have the world telling Black women, that they don't need a Black man, right? Because it's always about the man can't do this. The Black man is not in the home. He can't provide for you. He can't. You know what I mean? It's all about that. But what they forget though is that like for generations, right? Black men, it's never been about money with them. Now it's about money and financial and all this and all that. And my thing is like, okay, if you know that I'm gonna have a hard time getting a job, if you know that I'm gonna have a hard time making it in this world, and you know that you can make it real easy, then why not do that and help uplift that brother? You know what I'm saying? To make a strong, family and to make a strong foundation. That is frowned upon, right? So you have all these misconceptions of what a Black household is, and we can agree, as a group of what makes a strong family or Black family rather. You know what I mean? And so that becomes a major problem. If we don't have the leadership, we can't all be on the same page, and then every time someone steps up to be a leader, they're taken out, they're arrested or they're shot or they send, infiltrators in to undermine what's going on. Because if you notice, anytime that we have those leaders and our people come together, there's peace. You know what I mean? There's a right. I don't want to say a Black uprising, but it's like everything is getting better, and black people are communicating, getting jobs. You know what I'm saying? It's like something that's like, oh, this is beautiful. I want to see more of this. And it's like, well, we can't let them get too far ahead. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, what you? How old are you? You almost what, 60? So you can go in a little bit about like the infighting, not okay. Besides the infighting, okay, we know already as far as like a lot of the leaders have been assassinated, they've been get rid of, and things like that. How do we propel the next leader? If that's a good question.
You're saying how do we prepare the next generation so there's not so much fighting amongst you? I agree with Richie. I think it's right. The leadership is a problem. I think that's not the only problem, because if we all sat here and racked our brain for 5 great white American leaders, we probably couldn't come up with 5 between the all of us. So that part is tough, because if we raise one name, then we'll have something. Well, no, we got to take him off the list because of this. I'm like, okay, he's off the list. And we can do that, so it's rough, right? But I think the key to fixing it's hard. We don't know enough about ourselves to not fight. So we don't know our own culture, our own history enough to realize that just because Jada's lighter skinned than Jody don't mean that Jada's prettier than Jody, right? That's some stupid shit that we've been doing for years.
Look at Jada like I am though.
She's gonna argue about it now. Or like, for example, I'm super light skinned, right? But just because my mom's Cherokee Indian for the most part and my dad's black doesn't mean I'm less black than DeRay or Kayla.
Sure.
The reality is nobody on this call is more than 35% African in the first place. Period. All the rest of our blood is all mixed up, and you have to go to Ancestry and me to try to figure it out. But we argue about stupid stuff like, oh, I'm blacker than you, or I'm more down, or whatever. It's like that's a stupid fight. But our kids don't know any better because they don't know their own history, their own culture to worry about something like way more important and sticking together.
Before you go, Caleb, is that a thing that's like an educational tool that should be used in school, and it's just not?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I'll put you for example. My wife went to college in Oklahoma at a very large Christian college, right? To be a teacher. In her class, out of the textbook, the professor is teaching a chapter on how African American students do not have the IQ and mental ability to learn at the same pace and level as the white students in the United States. Now, this is a nationally used book, not in every school, but majority of schools use it in 2004. So things like that, and you're a black teacher or a black student hearing things like that, that's not the education that we're needing to get out. We need to know the reality of what our American history is, reality of what our African history is, and having that much more pride and understanding, I think helps people stop fighting amongst each other. Now, Mexican people and Latin people fight amongst themselves too about color, but it's a very small part of their normal life because they know the rest of their culture and their history, and they have so much pride about being Latin. Like Nicaraguan people are very proud about being Nicaraguan, and they're going to have their flags and they're going to have stuff on their car. Guamanians are the same way. Like all these different Puerto Ricans in Chicago, how many Puerto Rican flags do you see on cars when you drive down the street? Well, Ray don't even know what flag to put in his car. He's been trying to figure it out for 37 years. You know what I mean? Like it's just, and then you go to a kid and you want a kid to not argue about that this other kid is not black enough because he don't live in the hood.
Okay. Like, Caleb, you about to add something, Caleb, right?
No, I was gonna kind of just go off of what he was saying about like what to do for the next generation. So I had a meeting, I want to say like 2 weeks ago. I don't know why I didn't tell you about it. That's on me. We was having just the black folks in Modesto to come out we was on West Side talking about what we was gonna do about kind of like what you're doing right now. Like we're talking about solutions instead of just complaining about it, right? So we got this gathering, and there were some members from the NAACP there, and and Wendy, she straight up said one thing that the previous generations had with all of the stuff that's going on in the world was they had Malcolm X, they had Martin Luther King, they had etc. Right? So they had black leaders, quote unquote, and the difference was Wendy was saying that we don't necessarily need to look for that one leader now because every single one of us is one. So it's like there's more unity now with the ability for us to be heard together than to just wait around for the next second coming of black people. You know what I'm saying? We all can be that one person, especially right now.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I feel like it's harder to do that because especially my age group, like everybody's in
group.
competition.
Group. Y'all
How old are you?
Like how old am I?
Yeah.
I'm about to be 20 next month.
Okay.
I feel like everybody's in competition. Like, it's who got the most money, who can buy this right now, who working this many jobs and they don't need their mama or daddy to do this for them. Like, it's like stuff like that. Like, I just feel like, why does that matter? Like, for example, me, I don't work. I mean, if I do, it's like, it's my money kind of thing. Like, my mom, like, not the type of person like, oh, you're making money, go pay your phone bill, go pay your car note, like stuff like that. She's not like that. And with my friends, like, they brag about stuff like that on Snap. Like, oh, I pay my own car bill. Like, I pay my own, like, stuff like that. And I'm just like, right. Why does it matter? Like, if you got it, okay. But, like, why does it have to be a competition with who can do this at a young age? Right. Like, I don't understand that. I feel like it's too much competition. So there's no way that it could be, like, everybody as a leader because everybody in competition of who winning.
And that's a fair point. I'll kind of back up on my statement by saying, yes, there obviously is people that are going to be in competition with each other. I'm specifically talking about the people that are capable and have the mindset to make a difference and a change right now. Because obviously, if people are focused on being in competition with one another while we're divided, after George Floyd got his neck stepped on, those are not the people I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, period. Like, they're not gonna help the cause. We have the ability to gather and congregate within the same like-minded minds that are trying to make a change. That's
okay. Okay. Can I throw a little curveball out?
Yeah.
Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, were they not competing?
What?
Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, were they not competing?
Fair. I'll say yes and no.
You said yes and no?
I'll say yes.
Oh, he got the shirt on. Because they both did two different things. Even though it wasn't like, oh, I'm better than you. I believe the way Jada, your generation moves may be better. Because in my mind it's like this. I think weirdly, if we're competing, iron sharpens iron. If I'm doing my job, or let's say I'm an activist or you're an activist on your side, and I'm working hard to be a better activist than you, your skills you better brush up, because if I'm getting laws passed and you just only doing block club parties, something ain't right with you.
But that's not the type of competition that it is.
But look, I think you kind of being a little hard to, because you're 20, you're still 20. So 20 people want to talk about, the fun stuff, the aesthetics, the cute stuff. When you get past maybe 24, 25, and you get hit with something, then you're like, okay, cool. But it's nothing to be like, oh, my generation won't catch on. It's just y'all have a different mentality than most groups. My mom group, they kind of was like passive and sat back and do nothing. They did dope. They did dope. They did dope. They did dope. Don't talk. They did dope. They wasn't competing with each other. I think that competitiveness, it made, like you said, in the beginning, it's shitty. Because people talking about, oh, I got this car, I got that car, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Hire your car when it's important. Well, I need to go to a rally. Use that car to get me to a rally. If people, like Kevin said, if people can utilize it in the appropriate way when it's time, when it's time to do that, I don't see nothing wrong with it. Because Martin and Malcolm was on two different ends of the coin, and they were like,
yeah. All right, let me
go ahead, Richie.
Let me say this. Even though they started out that way,
Yeah, for sure.
when it came close to the end, they started to become together. You know what I mean? So even though it was like, well, we should try it this way, and he's like, no, your way's not going to work. We should do it my way. You know what I mean? At the end, they both came to an understanding that, okay, we need to do it this way together. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, I don't know if anybody on here has ever been in a conscious community, right? Those brothers compete, right? They're competing for the attention and the notoriety of Black people who are lost, and Black people that are looking for help, right? To help, get them up spiritually and consciously, right? But those brothers, they compete. So but most of them are kind of young, which is kind of a bad thing, because they turn each other against one another. You know what I mean? And so when they have their debates and they have all these gatherings, it becomes, well, your guy versus my guy, and we stand behind this guy and not your guy type deal. You know what I mean? And so that is a problem, because that also keeps us divided. You know what I mean? Even though they're trying their best to say, well, like, have you ever heard of Umar Johnson, right?
Dr. Umar.
For instance,
Dr.
Umar Johnson, right? He has a strong message, right? But at the same time, you see how he wilded out on another brother because of colorism. You feel me? So it's like, okay, so now it's like, well, now we're gonna take a step back because you're acting this way, as opposed to, you know what I'm saying? You stand within that lane of what you claim to be. You know what I mean? So and that was that competitiveness, that was that ego that we have as Black people. Like, I'm gonna be the one on top. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to taking that step back and saying, you know what, my brother, let's come to an understanding about this. Let's sit down and figure out where our differences can meet. You know what I mean? So that's the way I feel like competition can be good, but then it's also a negative. Like it's more of a negative than a positive. You know what I mean? And then
I
like,
kind of agree with Richie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Talk to me.
Oh, go ahead, Richie.
Yeah. But I was just gonna say, like Jada was saying, how her friends, go back and forth like that, and then that's another thing, because they don't have that leadership to tell them, hey, that stuff's not important. You know what I'm saying? What's important, you know what I'm saying, is this. Well, what's important is that, how you carry yourself. How you is out there. I give my girls and my son everything, right? But they don't, act like they get everything. You know what I mean? Because they feel like, well, I have to earn it. My dad's just not going to give me whatever I want unless I earn it. So that gives them, I don't want to say a sense of responsibility, but it kind of makes them like, well, if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, I'm not going to be able to get the things that I need to get, And so now they're more responsible enough to, when they go out in the world and say, hey, this isn't right, that isn't right. And then we have that open dynamic that no matter what goes on in their lives, they can come and talk to me, and we'll sit down and have a discussion about it and map out everything on how they should respond to it that works for them. Not how, well, I want you to do this. No. What works for you, and help you get over these situations like that. You know what I mean? And then I tried to bring my brothers. I love them to death. You know what I'm saying? But they for the streets. They for the streets because, I couldn't spend enough time with them because I started to have my own family. And because I started to have my own family, they became street bound. You know what I mean? And that kind of hurted me along the way, because I felt like, man, I had them where they were turning around and saying, hey, let me start thinking about the next 30 years of my life. You know what I mean? But then they started getting arrested and going to jail. You know how that goes.
It got ugly real quick. It got ugly.
Yeah.
So look, right. I think my final question is gonna be this. It's either a yeah or a name. We'll go briefly into it. Is the education of like true American history something you want your kids and nieces to know in high school?
The true or what school is teaching?
No, I mean the truth from when it was here, when it started, from when it was bad, when it was shitty, when it was cute, when it was okay. Is that a thing that we really want kids of who maybe our nieces, nephews, future kids, our kids? Do you really want them to like be entrenched with that kind of education stuff?
Hell nah. Bro, the America we live in right now is because it's based off of why. So no.
So you said you want them to know the actual history of it?
I'm gonna tell them the truth because the truth is something everyone deserves, and if the truth was being distributed, this would not be the world that we live in right now.
Okay, so you cool with if there's a truth, like true stuff, like slave, they actually went in depth with slavery. They actually go in depth with them raping and kidnapping and pillaging Native Americans from here.
Be informed, just like you gonna teach Blue and your sons about what it was like growing up in Chicago streets. They need to be informed on what that was like so that they can know how to move and maneuver because they're being educated on truth. There's no reason to hide the truth from people. I'm not gonna go to the controversial, because that can go different ways with different people. But I believe that the truth is something that everyone deserves because that's what you're gonna use to make the appropriate maneuvers in life.
For sure. Sam,
does this mean? Okay. Wait, I have a question. You mean teaching stuff in like high school, or like you mean like as part of like education, like through elementary and then?
I think third grade is a suitable age to start talking about actual how did the people get here? Who was here first? In my opinion.
Okay.
So Sam, how are you okay with that being a thing?
I think they should totally be educated on it. Educate the good, the bad, the ugly, because now we have people who like idealize and think like, for example, Christopher Columbus is a great person. He discovered America.
Yeah, they lied to me.
But genocide, murder, rape, like there's so many people in our history that are like put up on pedestals and praised because of all the great stuff that they did, but they don't look at the actual history behind it.
Yeah, sure. Jen, you had to hand up?
Bro. People don't know about the Confederate flag. So if they actually knew the truth about that, again.
Hey, Jay, before you go, funny story. We had somebody that came in our gym, me and Anthony. He had a whole Confederate flag around his face.
If they have that, can we ask him to leave? This is a family facility. Like
he had it on. Like, go ahead, Jada.
No, I didn't have anything to say. I was just saying like 5th grade instead of 3rd grade. I feel like 3rd grade, you're not gonna understand that much of it. But that's the only reason I have.
Hey, but check this out. Give it to me in the same way they gave me VeggieTales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but would you really understand it?
Did you understand that Moses?
Not all the time.
Broccoli and he
not all the time. Not all the time. It
depends. Jada, I'm gonna ask you this. I'm gonna ask you this on watch. So this actually happened here in Modesto 2 years ago. No, a year ago. Remember, my wife's a teacher. She teaches 2nd grade. Kids, you know how it is when you're in elementary school. You show up to school, you start playing on the playground, waiting for the school bell to ring, right? Mm-hmm. Little black girls at school. 30% black population in school, so it's not like there's not any black people. And the other little boys that are like 2 years older than her, instead of playing the game monkey in the middle, where they keep the ball from you and you got to get it, right? They decide to play nigger in the middle.
What school is this?
Yeah, exactly. So, could you imagine your parents ain't talk to you about racism or slavery or nothing like that at all, and you don't even realize that these kids are a little bit older than you, that know what's going on, are literally torturing you in front of everybody.
And you don't even know it.
Don't even know.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
She wasn't freaking out. Like, she knew something was up, So she had told her parents, but her mom and her grandma come to the school bawling, crying, freaking out, obviously, wanting something done. And just, actually nothing got done.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all in agreement that it should be taught like in its full totality of the history.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they start teaching their kids really young. You know what I mean? Really young. They start them at babies, like, hey, well, this is this and this is that. Watch out for that. They teach them how to be our bosses. You know what I mean? And you feel? But then they also have to teach us that American history is not our only history. You know what I'm saying? So our history didn't start when we came to America. Our history started way before then. You know what I mean? And that would help, because even with the kids, during Black History Month, you know how it is, right? And so I have to make sure that whatever they learn about Black history in school, when they come home, I teach them real history. You know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, because they go over the same projects. They go over the same people. Well, you have a list to choose from to who you're going to do a project on. Yeah, you feel me?
Rosa Parks.
Like, no. That's it, right? It's like,
Coretta.
Okay, we know that story. Teach us the rest of the story. You know what I'm saying?
Does everyone know the ice cream truck song? Speaking about like being educated, does everyone here know about the ice cream truck song? How it's racist?
I heard it.
Oh no.
Yeah, me too.
No.
Watermelon.
Educate me.
Yeah.
And
No,
it's
you gotta educate me.
ironic that niggas is running into that shit as soon as you hear it.
Wow.
If you didn't know, look it up. It's a real thing. Like,
oh no, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
It's honestly kind of disturbing. Like once I heard it, I was just like,
I was like,
what? This is
you
so
Send it to me,
lame.
somebody. Send it to me. Send me the ice cream song.
I'll send you the link right now.
Yeah, send me that.
Put it like 100 years ago, bro.
Hey Reggie, that just hit us in the head, right? Like,
You feel me? I'm like, what?
we not buying no more ice cream off the truck. I always thought it was weird anyway. Some man, driving neighborhood at 6 p.m. around kids.
Looking for kids.
Yeah. Hey, but look, right. So we're finishing up. Jody, Daddy, y'all got any thing y'all want to say before we get out of here? Our great panel that came out tonight, Samantha, Caleb, Richie, Ed, y'all got anything y'all want to finish off with? Are y'all good?
Yeah.
Hey, so we appreciate you guys, joining our call and just educating us and taking some of the education back as well, and also pushing back when it needs to be pushed back, because all ideas ain't good ideas, and then it's all good to, shape the idea as well too, help me create a better idea. So we really, 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 really do appreciate you guys, hopping on the call with us, taking the time out of your day to just get on this call. We'll be doing more calls, in the future, and we'll give out like text messages who want to hop on another call or whatnot. And if you got any topic that you want to speak about, or if you just, let's say you don't want to hop on the call, hey, talk about this, send it to me, send it to me. Because we don't want to just be just like straight my Black problem. We want it to be every problem that's popping up in the world, whether it's, the kids being in fucking cages, whether it's being genocide over in Africa, whether it's being anything. We want to talk about all those things because our voices maybe could help somebody one day. Thank you guys for joining us. This is Chicago 45. We'll see you guys soon. Jody, boom, boom, boom. Thank you guys. Love.